I can't think.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the MANxiety Show, episode 8.
Episode 8.
Episode 8.
Episode 8. Mick
Feels like-
Thomas here.
Corey Brooks, and doing about an episode a year now. We're on a good
Yeah, getting good. Getting consistent.
getting consistently failing the
Should
fans.
call this show fucking Haley's Comet. Just comes around once
Exactly.
every so often. Whenever it does.
So you got an interesting topic to talk about today.
Yeah, I just figured we kind of touched on it. Did we touch on it last week? I think we talked about childhood trauma.
Yeah.
But I think we wanted to talk about depression in comedy.
Right.
Comedians with depression, sending the clowns and all that stuff.
Which is, I'm interested in hearing.
The sad clown.
The sad clown.
Isn't that what they call it? The sad clown.
The laugh now, cry later tattoos.
Yeah, all
You
that
know?
one. The tragedy tattoos that a lot of comics have. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop with your tattoos of comedy to show you're in it.
And you're in it.
You're into comedy. I got a microphone tat. Do you? Do you have a microphone tat?
And a bunch of ha-ha-has. written
Right,
above
yeah,
it.
like you're the Joker or just that tragedy and that one, the masks.
Yep.
Tattooed. And I know a bunch of people, my friends who have that, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about especially with like depression in stand up. A lot of people ask that because I do get a lot of people saying to me, are comedians usually depressed people and kind of where it comes from. So it's an interesting topic. There's a bunch of comedians that sadly took their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
In any particular order, like Greg Giraldo, who I knew, which was sad. I mean, he didn't take his life directly. He just drug overdose.
Inadvertently.
Yeah. It was a drug overdose. And I was supposed to work with him that next weekend.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. And he was in New Jersey, New Brunswick, and he had his demons. Greg had his demons. Mitch Hedberg was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Jennings. Brody Stevens from LA. Brody Stevens, actually, it's funny. I saw him the other day I was watching The Hangover.
Okay.
And he had a very small part in that. He was one of the cops remember when the kids were coming into the Scared Straight thing or whatever,
yep.
and shot Zach Galifianakis.
Yep.
He was one of the cops in the room that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Real skinny guy, real skinny cop.
Okay.
And, that was a guy. And of course, I think that one of the most famous ones that people kind of got shocked about was Robin Williams.
Yeah. Very, very shocked about it. Especially my fiance, too. She was actually hurt by that.
But the Robin Williams one?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were, that their depression led to that. Like Sam Kinison was another one that kind of, Chris Farley.
Big names.
Belushi's.
Too. It's all big names. It's
Jim
all...
Belushi, yeah. That kind of went down that road but Robin Williams, actually, this is what I was trying to forget. I was trying to remember the name of it. Was like Louis Body.
Dementia?
Louis Body dementia. And basically he had that.
So what does that do? That eats at your brain pretty much, right?
First of all, once you get that, your life expectancy is 2 to 6 years.
Holy shit.
If you get diagnosed with that one, right? So he wasn't diagnosed with that.
Right.
At all.
They just said it was a suicide at first,
They
right?
found it after he killed himself. Now, I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong on that one. But from when I read up about that, they found it after they did an autopsy on him. They found that he had Lewy body dementia. So basically what that does is it just fucks with your movements, with your sleep. You live out your dreams. So if you're having a dream like I can fly, you'll go fucking jump off something because you think you can fly.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it just totally messes with you. So there was no record of it, I don't think. And I hope I'm not misquoting this or anything if I am. But so if he was diagnosed with it, he probably just went like, I'm done. Like I can't. If I have 2 to 6 life, I can't put my family through this.
Right.
He'd like Deadpooled it. I always call it Deadpool. If you ever watch Deadpool, the first one, and in the comic book is kind of, and I always said, I like from someone as a joke, I would kind of go down that road. Like if I had cancer and it couldn't be cured, I'm like, I would probably just pack up and leave. Like I don't want to see my family just watch me wither away to become a skeleton. I just like, all right, this is who I am. I love you all. Goodbye, and just disappear. Again, I'm fantasizing about that, right? I'm not saying I'm not.
No, I just
like thinking I would, but maybe that's what he did. Maybe he did get diagnosed, right? That nobody knew about it, just him and his doctor, because doctors are not allowed to come forward and say, yeah, he was diagnosed with this. And he just he went ahead and he hung himself from the doorknob in his bedroom.
That's such a crazy way to go, dude.
You know, and then what comedians is like, well, kind of why do they do? Where does that come from with depression and comedy? And I mean, for this one, I can only speak really about myself,
right?
But after speaking with comics on the road and stuff,
it's got to be a similar background,
yeah,
to it. Some sort of similar situation. You know what I mean?
Well, there's
in a way,
yeah. There's a lot of things there. You know, you can compare it to other. We're all similar, like I said. In that, I mean, you don't like, or you kind of feel humbled, or you don't believe it, which is another reason why. But like I consider you a comedian, just not a stand-up comedian. See, you don't. You can blush how you want to, but that's a part of it, right? That's a part of depression. It's like imposter syndrome. It's I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. And you think a comedian, you think of just guys who are stand-up comedians, but like Will Ferrell's not a stand-up comedian. You know what I mean? All these guys who are on like any TV show in The Office, it's not a stand-up comedian.
To me, it's always like laughing about everything or making some stupid joke. It's just been always a way to forget about the shit that I'm fucking going through in my personal life.
Right.
So that's I guess that proves your point right there.
It's either that or a deflection.
That too, yeah.
Right. So for me, and it happened this week, and I spoke about it on my other podcast, Cheaper Than Therapy.
Where you get your podcast?
Yeah, which we should have stolen the name. And it's horrible joke, right? Because the way I am, and we can go back to childhood in a moment, but the way I am is even now, if I see something that hurts me, that breaks my heart, I immediately come in with a sick joke. Just to make it, like I was, we were down in Disney last week, and my son, when he was younger, had like a lot of like issues, right? Which I think I told you about this at the club.
Yep.
The other night.
Yep.
And so Disney has his stuff on file. So they go, hey, not his actual records, but they go, hey, we see you coming down again. Listen, we'll take care of you. Here's some of the services that you get. And I don't want to go into them, because it just kind of misleads people and stuff and makes people do the wrong thing. So, hey, listen, we got you taken care of for your stuff that you had last time. Come on down. So we went down, and I'm online with my son. He had to go in. Now, my son, like right now, is kind of, he still has a lot of those issues, but in his everyday life, he's normal. I'm doing air quotes for people just listening. He's considered like normal. And so we're kind of joking with my son, like, you know, you got to act a little bit, you know, if they're going to give us these services, you got to act a bit,
right?
You know, like you kind of like you used to. And then, right, so I look over and I see this girl in a wheelchair, and she's a total paraplegic. I hope that's the right term. Yep. But like every single muscle in her body, she couldn't move. You know, those
paraplegic.
So I look at that, and my heart breaks. Right, I'm like, I don't know what it must be to be that child. I don't know the struggle it must be to be those. Like, I know what it's like to be the parent of two kids who are, again, air quotes, considered normal, that are not a handful. So I can only imagine what the strain that must be on a parent. To
me too, yeah.
Right? So my heart starts to break. So immediately, instead of me feeling that pain, this fucking court jester that lives in my head that just comes swooping in with a joke, like, you know what I mean? I just go to my son, like, don't, try, like, I'm not saying go that far, like, pull it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, that girl's really committing to it or whatever. You can laugh at it. And it's a horrible joke, and I don't mean it, but that's the way my brain works.
Right.
Is to disguise whatever pain I have with humor. The jokes are not, a lot of the times they're sick, they're not funny. They're somewhat mean. Like, if you go into a green room with comics, like real comics, just the conversations are dark and the jokes are evil and mean. Then you don't need to worry. Like, we've been at fundraisers, we've driven across country for no money for charity, because we know it's the right thing to do. We're going to raise money for this organization. So people will forget that if you hear the conversations in the green room. Like, our heart is in the right place, but we won't deal with the problem.
Right.
Right. So we'll try and mask it with laughter.
Right.
You know,
that makes sense.
Yeah, because even I was on a Star Wars ride, and just like, the thing was moving around and banging around and stuff, and like, you kind of, oh Jesus, and then I immediately felt like there's a drop in it, and then you start to bang into shit, and I don't know why, but in my head I'm like, is this what it was like on, like, in a plane crash, or like if 9/11 happened, like what, you know what I mean? And then my heart just went, fuck those poor people. Like, 9/11 was a horrible thing. And then like, I didn't want to feel that pain, right? And these are one of the things I talk about when I go to therapy myself. So I just lean over to my wife and I go like, think there'll be like a 9/11 ride? Just, like, fucked up, right? Totally fucked up.
That's what makes the fucking, I guess, the humor and shit like that dark shit. You're like, it's so fucked up. I can't believe he said that.
Yeah. And you don't mean it.
You don't mean it. You'll be like, could you imagine that really? Like how, you know, and you laugh at how fucked up of a situation that is. That's what you laugh at, really. People think, oh, you're being mean or that's fucked up.
And that's,
sometimes you just like, the world that crazy. Could you imagine that? Oh my God. Like I'd be just.
Yeah. And I never apologize for jokes, but for those last two things I said, like I am sorry if you're listening and you kind of find that offensive, but this is from my experience and how I react to it. So this is not me trying to get laughs, and I hope nobody laughed at those two because they weren't really like jokes, but it was how I, you know, it was like comedy is like a sword and a shield, right? You can use it to attack the pain and you can use it to defend the pain. You know, so I mean that's where comedy kind of takes me and what it does, and it deflects all this pain that you're feeling. Right. You know, and it
makes sense.
Yeah. And it you know, it comes from like, and every comic I know.
And is it also a thing of like, you know, you getting up there and there's people probably out in the fucking audience too that are going through shit, right? And you're able to, you're up there deflecting your own pain by coming up with jokes which you think are funny, obviously, right?
Right.
And then you're having people out there that are laughing hysterically as well with you. It kind of helps you mentally as well. No, I mean,
it does.
One, you're helping those people have a good fucking night away from all the shit that they're going through in their lives. And
yeah,
you know, it's.
Well, here's the thing with me for comedy, it's, and again, from me only, it's therapeutic. It's not therapy. Comedy will not fix. If you think you're out there like, I'm gonna go. Like I remember this woman turned up. I'd turn up at a lot of open mics and stuff to try out new material and stuff. This woman turned up, this is years ago, and she was like, my therapist said this would be a good idea for me to get up here and blah, blah. And I was like, your therapist is a fucking asshole. Right? Number one, it's before I started going to therapy. But number two, that is the worst advice ever because it's rejection.
Right.
It's you're putting yourself on display. And if you fail, it's just the worst kind of rejection. If your goal isn't to be a stand-up comedian,
right,
that's the worst rejection because rejection comes with the territory. Like I don't care anymore. I'm over the hill.
Yep.
Whereas if I bomb, I go, who gives a shit?
Yeah, but for someone starting off, as you said, to get put up there and to be rejected. I mean, you get up there and she's like, "Don't do it. It'll be good for you," and you don't get a single fucking laugh. What is that going to do to you mentally when you're already struggling?
But you're putting yourself out there, raw, vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like you're getting like you're being judged by everyone in the room. Like again, I'm over the hill where I couldn't give a shit. The only time I give a shit if I bomb is that if I'm getting a big hefty paycheck,
right,
and I'm paid to make these suits laugh or whatever, and like shit, I kind of feel like I didn't earn that money now because they didn't laugh. But in general, if I go to a comedy club and I bomb, I couldn't give a shit. Like it doesn't affect me. I brush it off. Right. I get more affected when I do well as opposed to bombing. Like if I do really, really well, I come off stage just miserable.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm like, that's the best I can do right now, and I nothing. Where's my, you know, when's my break coming along? You know what I mean? Like that's the best I can do right now, and still nothing.
And it's also something that's you get up there, right, and it's in the moment thing. So it's not like, all right, this is, as you said, it's not therapy. You're not up there all fucking day. You know what I mean? Making people laugh all day, or it's just ongoing therapeutic. It's a temporary fix at that moment in time.
It's a fix.
But you come off that stage, you know, whether it be on your ride home or your home, it's all, you know, that same shit that you're dealing with comes back right back.
Yeah, you can. It's amazing, man. You can go from, and this is what I know, like Geraldo was talking about. You can go from. I mean, Geraldo was a murderer on stage, murdered, and he would get off stage. And then all of a sudden, silence.
Really?
All that noise that you heard of people clapping and cheering and laughing and fucking, you get off stage, you're trying to get back to the green room, but you're being high-fived, people stop and taking for pictures, sign this, sign that. And all of a sudden, nothing. My first experience with that one is what I didn't realize is I was asked to open up for this famous Irish singer at Westbury years and years ago. I was doing comedy maybe 5 years. No, less than that, because my daughter was still she was still in diapers.
Okay.
So she's 14 now. But I remember just kind of in the round, sold out show, 3,500 people. That's what Westbury holds. And I'm just murdering I had to do 15 minutes, right?
Right.
You know, you're in a suit, you're murdering. I call up a friend of mine
you're in a suit.
Who does you call up a friend of mine who's in who knows how, like, there's a way you work a circle stage. Like there's a certain way you do that.
Okay.
right? It's not like you go up and just stand on the
It's
stage.
like a certain dance that you kind of do.
There's a certain way you have to move in a, and no one teaches you that. I was just looking at my friend did it, and basically, it's kind of going off topic, but you have a circle.
Okay.
You come down, you have to draw an imaginary triangle touching the sides of the circle, right?
Right.
So when you walk the triangle, you walk from point to point to point to point. Now, every time you do that, you have 2/3 of the room in front of you at all time. So you go from this point to that point to this point, and back around again. So every time you've 2/3 of the room. So you don't really have your back to the audience for that long.
Right.
But I just remember just like thunderous applause. I mean, 3,500 people in the round coming at you. And you walk out and you got people with headsets and clipboards like, I got Mick Thomas. Yeah, we're walking. And they walk you to the back door and they open it. And I walked out into the parking lot. The door closed behind me. Silence. And it was the weirdest feeling. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
It's going to be so fucking wild.
And I walked home and I was like, I walked in the door and I just got handed a baby. Shit up the back. And I just like, it was the whole thing was like surreal. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So for people.
Wait, whose baby?
My baby. When I got home, my daughter.
You said when you got home for
Yeah. When I got home.
I zoned out for a quick second.
My wife goes, there you go.
I thought you were in the parking lot. No. And a fan came up to you like, hold my baby with shit up their back. I'm sorry. I missed that part.
So I went from there to like 3,500 people couldn't want you more. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? 50 minutes wasn't enough for him. And I think I only had like 15 really good minutes. Like I had a half an hour, but I had 15 really good minutes. And I just fucking out parking lot, silence. And then I drove home and it's like, here's a baby with shit up its back. And it's like, what? So you get a lot of guys who kind of ride that high, right? Who are like guys and girls who are depressed, who you know, and that's their only fix is being on stage. And there's some guys and girls who'll do 2 shows a night, 7 nights a week. They'll get to a club, the show's canceled, not enough people. It's snowing outside, the show's canceled in New York at least. And you're like, fuck. And then like that's not a good place to be when you become dependent on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's but you know, going back to I think it definitely goes back, at least for me, back to your childhood. You know what I mean? Where I was one of 5 and I had nothing to say, right? I had 2 brothers who were big into soccer. I hated soccer. My dad, I couldn't get any attention from my dad because I didn't like soccer. I had nothing to talk to him about. I mean, I'm talking about as a kid. I had two sisters who were the princesses, right? So they don't have to be related to your dad. Just look nice in a dress,
right?
So I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And then we go for walks as a family when we used to go visit my grandparents, and it'd be like 9 or 10 of us walking, full of cousins. And there's like, where do you fit in? And I just told a joke from a joke book. You know, just whatever. Right. What did the scarecrow say? Whatever the fuck. And they all stopped and laughed. I was like, well, that's how I get my attention now. That's what I do. And then I think ever since that, I've just been chasing laughter. Wow.
Now, do you think that's a lot of comedians? It starts out like that, you know, just from growing up like that.
Yeah,
you know, because I will attest to even my brother. You know, he was always growing up. My parents always working, and
he's a middle child, right?
He's the middle child. I was independent. Then he had my sister, and so that was his way. He would always, you know, he'd come up the stairs in his fucking underwear with a guitar and play a stupid fucking song when he was like 6 years old. You know what I mean? Everybody's just laughing at him, and he's just always been funny. I guess that's the same thing. And it's kind of a lot of people don't realize that. They just think guy's a funny fucking guy, which you are.
Right.
But they think that a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You know?
And then when it's too much of it, like your family, you're like, just fucking, can you shut up?
Yeah.
Can you shut up? I'm trying to watch this. And then that rejection kind of, now you're learning to like, now you feel worse. So you got to try harder to make people laugh. Like you don't understand, like, when you're young, like, well, they just need a minute to fit. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, well, that joke didn't work.
Yeah.
Let me try this one. If I, you know, tuck my penis in between my legs and run out and go, look at me. You know what I mean? And you go from one extreme to the next. And it's like, you know, but like, I think Bo Burnham had a great line in one of his songs. It's a great song. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I don't know the name of it, but he compares himself to Kanye West. He goes to a Kanye West show.
Okay.
And how he's like, I don't get how Kanye West was doing a song with auto-tune. You know what I mean? That's all he was doing. He was complaining in autotune about like how his $90 t-shirts weren't selling. And he goes, I wonder if I did that. So he started off about, hey, I went to Chipotle, and it's in autotune and it's very clever. And I can't get my hands inside a Pringle can and all that kind of stuff. But then at the end of it, he kind of has this like, it's almost like a breakdown, right? You know what I mean? And he said, he has a line in it where he says, come and watch the skinny kid with the slightly declining mental health, where he tries to give you what he cannot give himself.
What a line.
So that line is, he tries to give you what he cannot give himself. And that to me, I try to say this to other comics and they go, nah, I don't know. But it's like, no. For me, that hit home because it's like, if you're depressed,
right,
you're miserable, you're sad, you're heavy all the time, right? But being around laughter is nice. Right. So you get on stage and you've got, we'll say the average comedy club, 250, 300 people sold out. If 300 people are laughing at you, you're closer to happiness than you were before you got on stage.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for me, at least, I'm not worried about following. Like if I had to follow Chris Rock, I've had to follow, Bill Burr. I've had to follow all these guys who just popped in, Tracy Morgan, Leslie Jones, like just these fucking monsters. George Wallace at comedy clubs, you know what I mean? And you walk in and it's like, all right, who the fuck is this little skinny white Irish guy? And it's I didn't care. Another comic's like, I can't follow that. I didn't give a shit because I just knew that all that laughter in the room is like, I'm closer to happiness.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm closer to, they're laughing. Laughter equals happiness. Happiness equals love. I'm close to that now. I'm around that, even though it's not directed towards me. And I think that's why I did well after those guys, because I didn't give a shit. I was just like, most guys didn't want to follow them. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I really didn't give a shit. It was like, because I got to go up and be around what was,
right.
What
you
was,
had something deeper that you were doing it for. Than
the
guy just,
yeah.
You're a funny guy. Go try comedy, Than
right.
That guy. It's yeah.
Yeah.
It stems deeper in that. So it didn't matter who the fuck was up there. You didn't care.
It didn't matter because then like I get to go up next in a few minutes and I was never worried about, I'm still never comparing myself to anybody in the room. I'm not comparing myself to anyone in the industry. I just go up and this is my shit. And my stuff I'm talking about now is more honest. And the more honest I am, the funnier it is. And
it is because it's you. It's not, it's very hard to bite off of somebody that's being original like that too.
It is. I mean, but some people do it. They don't give a shit. They'll do it. But
I don't know how you do that. I don't fucking know how they do it out there.
It's shortcuts, man. Some guys get paid these gigs and they've only got 20 minutes.
But how do you feel good about yourself? How do you fucking feel like, yeah, I did this, me being like, how do you feel proud of yourself? That should throw you into a fucking deeper depression. It wouldn't me.
Well, again, you're thinking logic, right? And that'll be, it's like when I ran the 100 miles that time, right? When I hit mile 90, I was alone. And I was exhausted.
In this asshole right here, he didn't just run it on, he attempted running it on the fucking street, fell, got back up, didn't really fall, but he get what I'm saying. And then ran 100 miles on a circular track, 100 miles straight on the circular track. So if you're wondering about his mental status and if he's making all this shit up, he's not.
Yeah, but my see, I'm like you now, trying to you can't accept the fact that you're a comic. Like, let me just change the subject. Yeah. I'm like that. I don't like praise.
I'm sorry. It just.
But I had that opportunity at mile 90. There was nobody around. I was by myself. It was like 5 a.m. I think it was 5 or 6 a.m. And I was like, the track was near my house. I was like, I could go home right now. Get a bike, like a push bike, ride around. It's still going to clock it on my watch.
Right.
Put the bike back within the hour. Nobody's going to know. But it's like, I'd know. And it's just like, that would haunt me. And it's the same with like some guys don't watch, like let's go back to Robin Williams. Like Robin Williams was a notorious joke thief, right? Notorious for it in the business. A lot of people wouldn't go on if he was in the room. But I had heard an explanation, which I do believe. I do and I don't believe, because some of these jokes he did on a special, it's not like he went up on stage and started riffing. And then, because I've done that. I've been on stage and I've said something and I go, fuck, that sounds like Jim Gaffigan. Like that, I've heard that before. As I'm saying it.
But is that shit sometimes it's not you, but you don't even know you're doing it because it's subconsciously
there is parallel thinking. There is parallel thinking, the same joke. People come up with the same idea for a joke, the same bit, which is very, very common. But sometimes like I'll get into a conversation with somebody. I'm like, shit, did I say this in a conversation? Did I hear this on stand-up? And sometimes I've had to just take the joke out. I'm like, No, because like I parallel thinking. I did a joke about during the pandemic, and the joke was, and I was killing, and the joke was something like, I didn't realize how many of my friends weren't doctors, right? Because like, every friend would tell you, like, you know, I'm not a doctor. I'm like, oh really? I didn't think that. Like, 'cause that time we were on the plane, and someone said, hey, you know, I need a doctor. I noticed you didn't jump up. You know, and I was proud of it. I liked it. It was a funny joke. And I was driving with my friend Dennis Rooney. And I was like, yeah, I think that's a Dom Herrera bit. And I went back and I Googled it. And I was like, 1994. I'm like, motherfucker. You know, and I love Dom. And, but you know, that's.
I guess it's hard too because there's so many circumstances that everybody goes through pretty much the same shit to a point that it's hard not to write something original.
It's no, you're right, and that's why your stories are like have to be like, this is what I'm going through right now.
Like COVID, there's a lot of mask jokes, right? It's
Jesus
just
Christ. And even like when Trump was in office, and you go to every comedy club in the city, and everyone was shitting on Trump, and even if you had the most original joke about Trump, it was still a Trump joke.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you could have said the greatest joke of all time about Trump, it didn't matter. It was still a Trump joke.
I think I'm kind of glad that hearing all that shit, so that it's done being in comedy for the most part.
Yeah,
you know, you can listen to a stand-up comic and it's back to like stand-up comedy in a way where it's not just fuck Trump, fuck all it. That's just
right. But now it's the sensitivity with people, and it's, you know, which is fine.
Do you think that's turned? I think the pendulum's starting to swing a little bit.
Yeah, it's coming back now. I think real fans of comedy are starting to come out, and they don't really give a shit.
Yep.
But anyway, so go back to Robin Williams.
Sorry.
No, please, not at all. He would like hear a conversation, and he would go out, and then all of a sudden he would just say what he just heard. Right? So it's not intentional. His brain works so fast that he can't go, wait a minute, don't say that. Someone else just told me that. Like, you know, I could tell you a story about, but I'm not, I mean, it's too long. It involves my late great friend Carl LeBove, and Robin Williams. And it was kind of like how Robin like stole a joke from Carl.
Okay.
On the way to the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Carl was in the green room, and he just listened to Robin Williams tell Johnny Carson the story they just told him in the car ride. Carl disappeared. Carl couldn't get a house in LA based on, because Sam Kinison fathered his child that he didn't know about.
Right.
Again, we'll talk about that another day.
It's a good story.
Yeah. Sam. Really so Carl just kind of said, I'm not fucking paying child support. So the state of California locked him up, not like put him in jail, but locked up his accounts, everything. So Carl couldn't get work. So he couldn't get a lease. So he bumped into Robin Williams, old friend of his. And he goes, like, where's my, you know, the fuck? He's like, Carl, you disappeared from the green room with Johnny Carson. I was like, yeah, you stole him, blah, blah. He goes, what can I make it up for? He's like, can you sign on a fucking lease or something? He goes, I'll do one better. And he gave him keys to like a 2-bedroom house in LA to say sorry for taking his joke. But Robin Williams, I heard someone who's a good friend of his talk about him, that his mind works so fast, he just, you know, he would take jokes unintentionally. But then again, when I go against that, it's like, yeah, but also if your mind is working so fast, when you do a HBO special, every single joke, you're not making up jokes on the spot on your HBO special, because everything has to be approved also too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they also have to approve
of what you're going to say
of your jokes, because they don't want to make their network look bad.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Sense, even though it's not like it's balls to the wall, no censorship, they still are a business, and they don't want someone going up there saying, guys, it's okay to beat baby seals.
Right.
You know what I mean? We stand by him and the babies. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, you can't. What if he goes up and he doesn't do jokes? He goes up and just preaches for an hour.
Right.
So right now, all of a sudden, HBO are like, oh wait, what are we fucking? We're like this Die Hard.
So they have to know what you're going to say, but they don't necessarily know that what you're going to say is taken from anybody.
Oh
else.
No, that's not their job.
So as you're saying,
that's not their job.
If Robin Williams is going to sit there or whoever and write down a whole special, they know whether that joke's theirs or not.
Yeah, that's not their job. That's not their job. Yeah.
That makes.
But again, it goes back to, but he was one that suffered from depression, like unbelievable. You know, drug addict, alcoholic. You know, there's a great interview with him on Mark Maron. You should check it out for anybody listening on WTF. Just go into anyone. I'm just going to the app. You know, same place you get the MANxiety show.
Yeah.
Just put in Mark Maron WTF, and just when you go in there, search Robin Williams and just listen to that interview. And he hits on a lot of stuff that like a lot of comics will say. I've heard comics say like they don't want to kill themselves, right? Because that's very violent. It's a very violent thing to say, but they just don't want to be alive. Right. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to actively go out and kill themselves. They just don't want to be alive anymore.
I want to look this up.
Yeah,
It sounds like because you don't expect to see that, especially from like Robin Williams. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like when that whole thing happened, I think that's why it was very shocking to a lot of people because you're like, he's always upbeat, he's always happy, he's always the energy. You know, every time you see him, but that's obviously always in front of cameras.
Yeah, it wasn't sad. I mean, of course, Jesus, sad. That's the wrong word. It wasn't shocking to me, is what I meant to say. It was sad, but it wasn't shocking because I kind of like I knew the guy. I knew the guy battled so hard with it, and it just everyone's got a breaking point. And then when that came out afterwards, saying he had the Lewy body dementia, really makes sense. You know, really, really makes sense. It plays tricks on your brain, so maybe he didn't intend to kill himself, and something in his brain said, "You should just go kill yourself." He's like, "All right, that sounds like fun." Like we don't know. We genuinely don't know what happened there, but he was diagnosed with it. So, you know,
I'm very glad you brought this topic up today because I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah,
you know what goes on behind the curtain.
Yeah,
so to speak.
I mean, there's some guys that are attention guys and girls. I know I keep saying guys, sorry, but there's a lot of funny females out there too. But it's just habit. There's a lot of people out there that they're just attention seeking, which is fine. I don't mean like just as in like they shouldn't be doing stand up. They do. Everyone does it for different reasons.
Right.
But there's a lot of guys out there, man, that really struggle with depression. And I think for me, I do go back to.
I want to put that number again down below.
Yeah, of course. And again, this is not advice. If you do suffer from depression, please seek help. Please seek help. Do not try stand-up comedy as a fucking therapy session. Please, it will not work. But to me,
send your video to Mick first.
Yeah.
Before you do that,
I'll shit on him.
He'll tell you whether it's worth. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll never do that. I just like that's your art, man. Whatever you want to talk about, who am I?
But yeah, I mean, I cut you off again.
No. I was just gonna say the line that got me was Bo Burnham's line, and I'll send you that song. It's
send me it because he obviously said that for a reason, right? Not as a joke. But a lot of people probably listening to the whole thing or laughing and just overlook that serious line that he says.
I remember I didn't watch it first. I listened to it. I'm known for going on long road gigs and I'll put on stand-up from Netflix. I won't watch Netflix. I'll just leave Netflix playing through my stereo.
Right.
Because you don't really need to watch stand-up, right?
No.
And I remember Bo Burnham is kind of very visual. So I was kind of debating. It just came out. I was on the road. I was like, fuck, do I watch it? Do I wait till I get home? I go, let me put it on. It's all music. And I'm listening to it, and I just remember tearing up when he said that because I'm like, "Fuck yeah, that's what it is. That's what." And it was just you kind of feel bad for him, you know. You feel bad for him, like because that's come and watch the skinny kid with the decline in mental health,
and it hits you, and just like you wish you could like pick up your phone and call him, right?
Yeah,
and be like, "Listen, man,
it's like, hey man, I get it, I get it. I know exactly what you're going through."
Yep.
But so many comics, man, I think they chase it. They chase that. Some do chase the high.
And to be feeling like that and now have to come up with jokes has got to be one of the most difficult tasks to do because go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, right, when you're having a shitty day, let's say you're having a shitty week or a shitty month, and the last thing you want to do is fucking be funny, right? The last thing you want to do is, but I guess it's different when you're a stand-up comedian, as you said, you'll take that and turn it into something funny.
Well, the last thing you want to do is be funny. Again, I'm speaking for me, but I do want to create, right? The last thing I want to do is when I'm having a shitty time is go on stage.
Okay, but you still got the drive
Doesn't heal me. Sometimes if I go up and do a set for 20 minutes of jokes I've done, trial and tested, which I normally do on the weekends because people are paying the money to come out and see a good show, I will give you the hits at the weekend. I will not I will not waste your time. I might try a joke or two.
Right.
In there, a quick joke, but I will not waste your time. I will give you your money's worth because I understand what it is to work hard all week, pay a babysitter, get out of the house, forget about your problems, your depression. So I'm all in. I will do my job for you. But when I am feeling shit, I don't want to go on stage during those times if I'm feeling bad.
Right.
I go on autopilot. Like I can deliver those jokes, sell them, have the audience laughing, and in my head, I'm like, I gotta go home and fix this now because you know what I mean. I can't deal with that shit now. It's like,
but you're able to be creative, like if you're at home or like you're saying you're good, you can write.
I can create. That's where the art form comes from, right? That's where during when I feel bad, when I feel depressed, I can write based on what I'm feeling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like based on what I'm feeling. Some people can like Bill Hicks is another one. I mean, he died of cancer. I think he died of cancer. But he was another guy and you saw how depressed he was in his work. But when you lose that, you can't fake it. right? When you're happy again,
Right.
it doesn't fit in with your theme. So if you're on stage for an hour and then all of a sudden 20 minutes is like hilarious, isn't that fun? Oh, your son did what? That's adorable. Oh yeah, my kid does that all the time. And then you're talking about, yeah, so if I kind of want to kill myself. You know what I mean? Like the theme doesn't match
Right.
unless you kind of do it, unless you deliver it well. Unless
Right.
you deliver that well.
Right. And I guess I'm kind of contradicting what I said earlier because I'm like, yeah, I try to make funny of something when I'm feeling shitty, but
No, but
just
that's
to sit there and write is just a total different
well,
task,
be
I feel.
funny is writing is you're trying to find something that's
guess,
funny. So
yeah.
you are being funny, but you're being funny into the paper. When you go to the audience, you're not gonna, if you're getting paid. But if it's a Tuesday night, I'm at a comic strip, whatever, and I'm fucking going through shit in my life,
Yeah.
and I'll try, dude. I've tried it. I've tried jokes, and just people, oof, that's horrible. That's a terrible joke, and you're not ready for it. You're not
Right.
ready to do that bit yet because your mind wasn't ready. And I remember doing a bit about transgender or whatever, and it just came across not insulting to transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was saying, trying to back up science with this shit, and it was just ignorant. It was just dumb. And I remember like just going, and again, I wasn't attacking.
Right. Well, nowadays I feel like you gotta, even just saying certain words, it's automatically taken as you attacking.
People
It's just
don't
like,
listen to what you're saying.
right.
They don't hear what you're saying. They're listening for certain words. They
Yeah.
got those words, and they're going to run with the assumption of it. I'm like, no. Like the thing I was talking about the transgender.
It's like you're not talking with the subject, you're talking bad about the subject is kind of how
Right.
everybody takes it. you
Right.
know?
And the transgender thing, what I'll say, because I don't want people getting pissed and writing in and saying maybe he was insulted. No, I wasn't. It was a conversation with my daughter that I had. And I was trying to explain to her that, you can call yourself whatever, that's fine. That's you can identify and I'll go with you and you can get whatever surgery you want to. And my point was that if there's a crime scene in a motel and there's a dead body, right? They can tell the DNA if it's male or female DNA, and there's no operation gonna.
It's gonna.
You know what I
change
mean? Like you can, and I think the joke again wasn't a joke. It was more like you can drop a vagina into a blender and a penis into a blender separately, and like zzz, right? But you can't tell if that was a penis, and you can't tell if that was a vagina, but you can tell if it belonged to a male or a female, right? I think it was just an ignorant trying to be scientific, trying to be smart and clever.
Right.
And I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And I went up and people just got pissed off. And probably rightly so. Maybe rightly so. I didn't get booed or anything, but it just fucking bombed.
Yeah.
Because it was terrible. So it doesn't mean you can't create when you're miserable, but that's when you're supposed to create. That's why comedians are considered artists. And we are artists, but we also don't, but we don't like to pat ourselves on the back either. It's the hardest thing to do. Is to pat yourself on the back and say, you should do it. We should do it more often. Don't get me wrong, we should do it. But it's just one of the hardest things to do is to just pat yourself on the back and go, fuck yeah, I was good. I was good tonight.
Yeah.
What you might come off and you say, for me, I'll come off when someone says, man, you did great tonight. I'll go, yeah, there was a great crowd tonight. I give them the credit instead of going, no, they're fucking, because I
feel like that's a bittersweet thing too, right? Because you like, all right, you give the crowd the credit. You deserve to be pat on the back, right? Which that's theoretically what they're doing when they're laughing at you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pat yourself on the back too much, you'll never improve.
Oh yeah, you can't. You got to keep yourself humble. But then again, you also have to enjoy it too.
That's why I'm around, just to tell you how good of a job you do.
But I went through a stage recently where
that's what he pays me for. I just go to the shows and I fucking literally pat him on the back when he gets off stage.
Like
it's
a hype man.
That's just hype man. That's it.
But like I went through a stage, within the year, and you and I have talked about this. Like I got to quit stand up because, I wasn't happy anymore with stand up, and it was just a fucking like this month in March is a burnout of a month. But I did it for financial reasons, and I'm excited about the gigs. There's none of those gigs that are not original for me. They're all new experiences, so I'm excited about that. But it's just gonna fucking burn me out. I have 8 nights through the whole month of March where I don't have like I'm even working on my birthday and I just forgot because I don't even recognize my birthday is in March, and I'm like, yeah, I just tick the day and I'm like, yeah, so I'm now at
the you have a
comic
fucking
strip
St. Patrick's Day month birthday.
Yeah, of course, right? Why wouldn't I? It's on St. Patrick's Day too. I'm joking. No, it's not.
What's your real name?
Patio Shamey McLeary.
Patio Houlihan McLeary.
But yeah, so and what I did was like, I needed to fall in love with stand-up again because it was killing me.
Right.
The thing I loved the most, like apart from my family, was killing me. I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't fun. And there's so many comics like that they're up, they get up, they fucking drive, they do the road. And it's time to, that's when either you've given up on it, right? You've given up on it. You're not writing new jokes. You have your hour. You travel with that hour. So many comics do it. And it's a lonely life. It's a lonely existence. And I was getting to that. Not the I had my hour because I just love writing so much. I love doing new jokes so much. But I just wasn't having fun. And I said, I need to fall in love with stand-up again. So I stepped back. I started just writing nothing but honesty. You know, I went through a lot of shit in my life in the last year, and I'm taking it to the stage, and it's I'm happy with it, and I'm taking less shows, and the time leaves me home now, so I'm just more balanced, and it's you know, I was able to fall in love with stand up again, and also give my family more time for me, and a lot of guys just don't do that. And
it's once you can perfect the perfect balance between the me and the we,
right?
We being the family and the me being you. And once you fall into place there, that's when everything is good. Because everybody, you know, like just when I started my family myself, it's like I was always, when I first met her, I was work. Gotta work. I'd be successful at work. I'd money, work, you know? And it's like I'm slowly, and then we had my son. And I'm still was like close to the home, but it's work. And then once you start, you know, you get into that argument, it's like you're never home. All you're doing is work and blah, blah, blah. And then you just start to find that perfect balance.
Right.
You know, and then you're like, all right, I can either got to pull the reins on yourself back towards this way or that way. It's like it's just a constant life balance. But when you're right there.
There's so many guys, man, too, comics that will bust their ass for their family.
Yep.
For years. They'll never make it. And they've lost their family because of it. And they've also lost stand-up. So they lost everything. Right. They lost stand-up. And when really stand-up was for their family to be successful in that. But because they worked so hard, they not neglected their family, it's the wrong word, but they just were absent based on trying to help their family. And then they just never made it in stand-up either. So they lost their family and they lost stand-up, you know? And that's one thing I'm trying like to never let happen.
And I don't think it is. I think, you know, whatever you or anybody's dealing with in life, I don't know, you gotta hit that rock bottom point, and then you always usually come back better than ever for the most part.
You don't have to. And I you know, and I feel bad for anybody that hits rock bottom. But it can be, depending on the situation, one of the best things that happen to you, right? Because it's like you've shoveled literally all the shit out of your basement.
Yep.
You know, that's a good way of looking at it. So you have a basement and you go down there, it's like fucking hoarders, and there's so much shit in there, and you start to get rid of, like, maybe I'll keep this lamp. This is, you know, maybe this is a good lamp, I'll keep that. Like, nope, fucking get rid of the lamp. And then you go, you know what, I found this old book. Like, I'll keep this book. Why? Why are you keeping the book? You can get it on audiobook. You can get a newer copy. You're never going to read it again. Why are you keeping it? And then you realize you kept the book too long. Like, fuck it, let me get rid of it. So when you hit rock bottom and you finally clean out the basement, now you got a fresh, clean basement.
That's a good,
squeaky clean basement. And now you get to carefully decide what goes in there.
That's a perfect, hello, now we got to clean out the basement.
No, is that like a reminder for you to clean out the basement?
No, we really
like the literal one?
I'm going to be honest with you. That was a fucking fantastic analogy and also a truthful one.
I was like, oh,
like,
shit,
you know, she's got to get her fucking old stripper pole out of the basement that she had when she was younger. I'm not laughing. I'm not joking about that one.
It was a good class. I'm sure every girl took one. I remember that stage where they went for, you know.
It was a good exercise class. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But no, that's a great analogy. It really, it's true. It's true when you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe the good thing about hitting rock bottom. And if you're lucky enough to go, and we'll do another episode about the 12 steps of dealing with recovery and addiction and that kind of stuff. That's a very interesting, because a lot of people like kind of look down their nose at the 12 steps. And when people try to make amends, they go, fuck you, make amends. You get to come in here after you did this at my birthday party and you got drunk and, flashed my aunt or whatever. Yeah. It's very interesting. But when you get a chance to hit not get a chance, but if you do hit rock bottom and the weight is gone, that everything you've carried is gone, and now you have to just, make amends with people. You got to fix your life again because you have just that empty basement. It's gone. It's just, it's clean. You get a fresh start on it. And that's what I did. I got rid of so much shit and I was able to fall back in love with stand-up again,
Good.
And
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, man, me too. I'm really enjoying it.
Maybe nervous at that point in time. I know what you were going through, and I was like, I knew you could have pulled through it, I think. But when you were like, I'm thinking, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I'm like, no fucking way.
Yeah, but everyone's got to walk away some stage. But you know what I mean? it's again going back to comedians with depression. A lot of us do it for attention. A lot of us do it for a fix, and that's not a good place you want to be.
I don't think you would have been in a better place quitting at all.
Maybe not, because I think I would have had a lot of joy in doing other things. More time with my family, I think, would have brought me a lot of joy. But that would have been for them. I think I would have been lacking something for me.
Right, but if you're lacking that much for you, you're not going to be able to.
Right, no, I understand. I get it. But I felt at the time it probably would have been a good decision. But I'm glad I came out the other side of it, and
glad you are too.
Yeah. So
I could have taken you up on that offer of practicing my Irish accent and stealing your jokes.
You could have them. All right, I guess we'll leave it there. I guess we covered everything. Again, guys, you want to email us, whatever. And and on the serious note, if you do,
somebody email us again. We actually still have old emails from like 4 episodes ago that we've never addressed.
Oh shit!
Yes.
We should do that. We should do that next week, maybe.
Next week,
do an email.
Please email us. Email. This is the email. Now I'll do it this time before he asks the question. Email us. I'm gonna put it right down here again. Email us at IHaveManxiety.com. Follow us at IHaveManxiety. And I'm working on doing a TikTok for us as well.
Nice.
I'm not sure what's going to be on there yet.
Clips of this and stuff.
Clips of this.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow Mick at Mick Thomas Comedy.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah, that's it.
I am Corey Brooks at I am Corey Brooks. And make sure you follow Mick's TikTok as well. Because it's
blowing up.
It's blowing up.
I don't know why.
Can I say that on here? It's taking off. It's
taking off. Like over 10K.
I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks so much. And again, guys, if you do need professional help, please seek it. Please seek it. Do not, we're not qualified people at all for, diagnosis and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing a backwards hat and he's got a Spider-Man shirt on. So
I would listen to any of this shit. But anyway, thank you for listening, everybody, and talk to you again soon.
Talk to you.